Welcome to another edition of Pierce the Canvas podcast. As always, I am Pierce here with another edition of AEW Dynamite. Another great show, another great main event that I'm feeling high off of again, just like from All Out the other week. All around excellent show. We had a lot going on here tonight. We had Thunder Rosa versus Evil East for the NWA Women's World Title. Great match there. Our main event of the evening was Santana and Ortiz versus Best Friends in the parking lot fight. So AEW's very first parking lot brawl happened tonight, and it was awesome. So we'll be getting into that. Other things we got to see was Chris Jericho and Jake Hager teaming up for the first time. Again, Chris Jericho made it clear he wants to be part of the tag team ranks. It's his goal to become a tag team champion, so he took up Jake Hager to tag with. And they had their first match tonight against Private Party. We also had MJF in action, as well as a few other things here too that we're going to be getting into. And the show started off with the match, Jurassic Express versus FTR. And this match, if Jurassic Express win, they get a title shot against FTR at some point for the titles. So it's a big match for Jurassic Express. The show started off pretty crazy. The Young Bucks came out as Jurassic Express are in the ring waiting for FTR to come out. The Young Bucks come out and they just super kick the referee for whatever reason. They just come out, super kick the referee and take off. They go backstage. You see Tony Khan there. They just throw money at Tony Khan. They're like, "Yeah, you're gonna charge us $5,000 again? Well, here you go, buddy. We don't even care at all." So that was crazy. So clearly we're seeing, like, as far as I'm concerned, a full-on heel Young Bucks. Like, there's nothing good guy about this. You know what I mean? Like, you could throw up the usual, oh, well, they've been going through a lot. You know, they never got a chance to become tag team champions. The whole stuff with Hangman Page. But regardless, this is just pure heel stuff. So I hope this keeps going. We continue to see them kind of develop to become like the old Young Bucks, right? Badass Young Bucks. None of this like normie good guy crap that we're getting every week. So that was pretty funny. As Young Bucks are being obnoxious, you know, they gave Tony Khan the money and they keep walking back. We see FTR. They're kind of like saying like, "Oh, you guys ain't being so nice these days," or I don't know. They said something to that effect, and then FTR finally come out, and the match begins. Into the match, this is probably after first commercial. Luchasaurus is getting a comeback. Dex Harwood attempts a top rope crossbody, and Luchasaurus catches him and slams him down. That's a pretty cool spot. The first, initial minutes, maybe the first, 5 minutes of the match, or even more, 6, 7 minutes, is probably around a 15-minute match total. It was definitely pretty slow for a lot of it. It was just FTR getting heat on Jungle Boy for a lot of it, which I'm starting to see that this is kind of a trend. Like, with Jurassic Express matches, there's a lot of just beating down on Jungle Boy, and Luchasaurus just standing there waiting for a tag, and then they tag him in, and he goes nuts and does all of his cool spots, which is exactly what happened here. So they were controlling Jungle Boy for however long, 5, 6 straight minutes. Jungle Boy finally gets a shot in, gets the hot tag from Luchasaurus. He does his comeback. Later in, we get a spinning kick from Luchasaurus, a kick to the head by Jungle Boy on Dex Harwood. That was one of the first near falls in that match. One of many that we got kind of throughout the night, except for in the main event, which I thought was perfect. I thought it was a great match, but anyway, we're gonna get there. There was even actually a little part of this match where they were just trading near fall after near fall. I think it was like Cash Wheeler and Jungle Boy were just trading near falls over and over again. There was a random spot in the match where Luchasaurus, I guess he was trying to jump onto Cash Wheeler. He's leaning on the barricade, and Luchasaurus charges up to him to, I guess, do some kind of jumping dive on him. He ends up diving in, over the barricade into the crowd, dodging, Cash Wheeler dodging his attack. It looked really, really weird, though. The way they kind of cut to it and it all quickly happened, he just suddenly dives into the crowd. You barely even see that Cash dodges it. That was kind of an awkward spot. Um, and I guess this spot had Jungle Boy kind of distracted. So he's in the ring, and he actually, or no, actually, I think Dax Harwood was distracted, seeing that Cash was about to get dumped on by Luchasaurus. So Jungle Boy gets a roll up on Dax Harwood. Dax reverses the roll up into his own, like in the corner, like right by the ropes. He might have even used the ropes to his advantage somehow. But that's how he scored the win. So unfortunately, Jurassic Express are not going to be getting a title match anytime soon. This match was okay. It wasn't fantastic or anything. It wasn't the best Jurassic Express match I'd ever seen. Yeah, that one spot again where Luchasaurus just jumps into the crowd, that was really weird. I don't know if anybody else felt the way I did about that, but it felt kind of awkward. Yeah, once the match is over, we move backstage. We see Alex Marvez. He's reporting, oh, something bad's happening backstage. I think the announcers were like going through what's going to be happening on the show tonight. And then suddenly Tony Schiavone's like, oh, I'm getting word that something's happening backstage. And again, we see Alex Marvez. And we see that Private Party are tending to Matt Hardy. Matt Hardy's selling knee injury. I guess he got beat up. Just a side note on that, it's kind of weird because I thought, wasn't it literally last week that he came and he was like, oh, I'm going to be taking some time off, spending time with my family. That didn't last long. He was at the show. He was there and apparently got attacked by Chris Jericho and Jake Hager. They eventually came and they're just taunting Matt. Oh, well, looks like Matt's not the luckiest man alive or whatever. Because he said that last week that he's the luckiest man. With his family and fans and everything like that. So Chris and Jake came to taunt Matt Hardy, and this is, I guess, the small amount of build-up we get for their match later. Again, Jericho and Hager versus Private Party. But next up, we had Frankie Kazarian versus Hangman Adam Page. I think this is Adam Page's first singles match in quite a while. Obviously, because he and Kenny are kind of going down their own singles route. Kenny Omega was actually ringside at the announce desk for this match, calling the match with the announce team. And he kind of gave a little bit more information about the tag team's status. He says, if a big tag team opportunity or title match comes, it comes, right? Like, we'll take it, but it's not my current focus. So he reiterated his point from last week. He's not focused on tag team wrestling anymore. He does want to branch back out into the singles world. So on the match, at one point Hangman catches a dive, attempted to a follow slam. That was attempted by Frankie Kazarian, and he landed his shooting star press spot. And again, Kenny on commentary is really emphasizing throughout this match, how Adam needs to get back to being a top-notch singles competitor instead of focusing on tag team wrestling. Later on, we see Frankie Kazarian lands a spike DDT for a near fall. Adam Page tried a backslide pin attempt. Kazarian eventually reversed it into a kill switch, like Christian's unprettier or kill switch finisher. For also a near fall, Adam Page connected a kind of weird, awkward, green-looking Death Valley driver for a near fall. Kazarian really did land awkwardly. It was fine, but it didn't look all that great. Kazarian connected like an RKO basically, as Adam Page was attempting a springboard. So he jumps off the rope and Kazarian hit basically an RKO. I would call it that before calling it a cutter. It looked exactly like an RKO. That was another near fall. Adam Page catches Kazarian off another springboard attempt into a powerbomb. That was also a near fall. There's lots of near falls in this match, lots of big spots. Eventually, Adam Page connected his buckshot lariat for the win after Kazarian was attempting like a leg drop while Adam Page was stunned on the ropes. And yeah, that was the end of the match. After the match, the bell rings and Kenny just immediately takes off. He just splits. And Adam Page is kind of looking around like, oh, where's Kenny? I thought he came to watch my match. Well, he wasn't there. He immediately left as the match ended. And then Adam Page calls for a beer. Somebody throws him a beer and he starts drinking away as usual. Next up, we had MJF with Wardlow versus Shawn Dean. And this went absolutely nowhere as far as the match went. MJF immediately locked up an armbar on Shawn Dean and tapped him out immediately. It was probably the shortest match in AEW, at least Dynamite history. Um, so afterward, Wardlow grabs MJF a mic. MJF says that we can agree he's a very honest man. Dictator John is a dishonest man. MJF says that he should be undefeated, because I guess Jon Moxley cheated in the All Out match. He should be the AEW World Champion. MJF says that we must from now on address him as the undefeated, undisputed, and uncrowned champion of all Elite Wrestling. And then he goes on to force Justin Roberts to announce him as that. Justin's first attempt, he was like, "Ladies and gentlemen, the undisputed, uncrowned," and MJF was like, no, buddy, you better try that again, and he announces it properly a second time. MJF says as the undefeated, undisputed, uncrowned champion of AEW, he deserves a fair shake. He says you have to be in a new stable these days to get any respect. MJF says he'd always fancied himself as a lone wolf, but maybe he should join a wolf pack. MJF says that if he decides to go with the group or doesn't decide, it doesn't matter because he's better than us and we know it. So, okay, I guess we could see MJF doing some, I don't know if it'll be like a tag team thing or just being in a faction. That was slightly teased here, so we'll see what happens with that. We'll see what's next for MJF. Next, we had a small little video package of Taz analyzing Ricky Starks. I don't know if you remember, he did the same thing with Brian Cage before, where like they zoom into how he locks certain holds, and Taz is talking about the details of the holds that they make. And in this little package, they're showing like Ricky Starks doing a butterfly suplex, a gut wrench suplex. Damn, I couldn't say that. And a couple other moves, and they're like zooming into like the technique that he's using to grab the holds and stuff. So they're just showcasing Ricky Starks a little bit there. Like I said, as they had previously done with Brian Cage in the same situation. And then next up, we see in the ring Eddie Kingston, not Eddie Cage, Eddie Kingston with Penta El-Zero-M, Rey Fenix, Butcher, and Blade. And Eddie is cutting a promo. He says that he's got 3 points to make. Number 1, he never lost a battle royal, so he's gonna keep reminding us about that. I don't think that's gonna go unaddressed. I think this kind of confirms it. It's the second week in a row he's mentioning it. It'll eventually turn into something. He says that Lance Archer doesn't deserve a shot. He does. Like Eddie Kingston clearly deserves. He never got eliminated from the number 1 contender match for the title. Number 2, this is a family, referring to his buddies, not a stable, not a faction. He says sometimes families fight because they're a family of violence. They are agents of chaos. And then he orders Butcher and Blade to go find some victims. Go cause some chaos. And they get out of the ring, and they had all the wrestlers, at the front, as they usually do. They rip them over the barricade, throw them in the ring, start beating them up. The only one I recognized was Griff Garrison. The other 2, I don't know who those wrestlers were. Penta, El-Zero-M, and Rey Fenix land their finishes on them. They just beat the crap out of these guys. And then, so there's always something freaking awkward on Dynamite, something that I just don't understand. So Eddie Kingston gets back on the mic, and he's like, now for my 3rd point. And then he's like whispering to Blade, and he's like, you gotta get your house in order, man. And then they just left. And the reason why this time I'm a little more confident I'm not just nuts and missed something is because the announcers also sounded really startled. I think, quote for quote, I don't remember exactly which announcer, but one of them was like, I have no idea or what just happened or something like that. And I was like, okay, so they don't know what happened. I don't know what he just said, but anyway, I don't really know what the 3rd point he had to make was. But that was literally the end of the segment. And then we had our next match, Private Party versus Jericho and Hager. Jericho comes out, the crowd's going nuts over the theme song. They're going crazy. Like, they make it sound like there's a few thousand people in the building, but they show around the audience there's not a lot of them, but it's real loud. They probably got them mic'd up properly, but he just loves it, man. Every week you see him just looking up like everybody's singing my song. He just loves it, always showering it in. I enjoy that, just getting to see that on Dynamite every week. Into this match, Private Party connect a silly string onto Hager into hot tag. Private Party connect their foot stomp neck breaker combination for near fall. Isaiah Cassidy lands a top rope Hurricane Rana on Jericho, lands a springboard cutter, went to the top rope for a swanton, was a little too cocky going to the top rope. Jericho dodges and connects a Judas Effect for the win. Wasn't a super eventful match, not a whole lot happening. I just gotta say it right away, like, Jake Hager matches I don't ever find that eventful. You know, like, I didn't really have anything to mention about what Hager did. He was pretty much just standing there taking spots for Private Party where they just do their flippy Hurricane Rana DDT moves or whatever. So, as usual, like, Jake Hager remains to be pretty unexciting in my opinion. But after the match, Jericho continues beating down on Isaiah Cassidy and locks in walls of Jericho on him. Mark Quinn goes for the save and knocks Jericho down like with a kick, and then Jericho and Hager retreat. I don't know if this means maybe we're going to see more Private Party versus Jericho and Hager, but yeah, okay, cool. That was fine. I guess, again, Jericho and Hager just need to keep racking up wins. Eventually, we're going to, probably by Full Gear, we're going to see them contend for the titles. I just hope they could have better quality matches. And then next, we had one of the biggest matches on the card tonight, Thunder Rosa versus Ivelisse and Diamante for the NWA Women's World Championship. So we had an interbrand title match here. So I don't know if that ever happened, ever, in AEW. This is the very first time that a championship from outside of AEW is being defended. No, it's not. The AAA Mega Championship, I think Kenny defended one time on AEW. But anyways, still really cool. I love to see that this NWA partnership with AEW is still happening, you know, and it's going strong. Rosa was already announced for next week, so they say that her deal is like a part-time kind of deal, like a one show at a time kind of deal. But she's been on every single week for the last, you know, including next week. It will have been at least 4 weeks in a row that she's been, I think. Or at least 4 times or so. So yeah, that's awesome. Like I said on the All Out stream, I love seeing Thunder Rosa wrestle. I want to see her full time on AEW's roster. So one thing I want to mention here, again, this match is against Ivelisse, and she and Diamante again should always be recognized. They're the first winners of the Women's Tag Team Cup tournament, so that's definitely to be respected on their end. So at least they have some credibility for being able to contend for this championship. Ivelisse was with Diamante. Diamante was ringside for this match. Rosa gets a leaping elbow strike into a running knee in the corner onto Ivelisse. Ivelisse gets a running knee strike for a near fall after a distraction from Diamante. Throughout the match, we actually were seeing repeated shots of Shida in the crowd, and Shida's like watching on really intently, so we know for sure just from that it's not the end. From that and a couple other things, that it's not the end of the feud between Thunder Rosa and Shida. So we'll see another match between those two for sure. And I think Thunder Rosa is going to win that title. Whoa, man, I would love that. I just love her as a wrestler. Ivelisse landed a butterfly tiger driver for a near fall. Also, that looked a little bit awkward too. Thunder Rosa lands a Death Valley driver for a near fall. Thunder Rosa, after a while, landed a Tombstone pile driver on Ivelisse for the win. It was a slightly weird looking Tombstone pile driver, but it got the job done. It didn't look like dangerous or anything, or completely botched or anything at all like that. It was just her style, I guess, of a Tombstone. And the announcers, they credited it as a Tombstone pile driver. It was awesome. I was like, oh man, what a cool way to end that match. Diamante comes in for the attack during Rosa's celebration. Shida comes to the aid of Thunder Rosa, gets both of them out of the ring, Diamante and Ivelisse. And Shida looks incredibly interested in that NWA Women's World Championship. She picks it up, staring at it. She's just loving this title. But then she resists stealing it and running to the back. She hands it back to Thunder Rosa. And they look at each other kind of intensely. So as I said, I don't think this is the end of that feud. We'll for sure, I think, see another match. Maybe it'll be on the, I think, was it October 14th that they're doing their 1-year anniversary? Which seems a little late, because I thought it was like October 4th last year or whatever, 2nd or something, that debuted. But I think they're using the 14th as the actual day for the 1 year. Let me check. Actually, I have it written down somewhere here. Yeah, October 14th. So who knows? Maybe we'll see Thunder Rosa versus Shida on that show for the title. I don't know. We'll see. Next up, we see Kip Sabian and Penelope Ford backstage. Penelope Ford is just spotting Miro as he does bench pressing, and Kip Sabian's cutting the little promos, talking about something. I don't even know what he was saying. I guess just hyping up Miro as the best man. Miro quickly puts down the weights, and he gets up and he says he's the best man, which means that he'll put on the best bachelor party ever. And Kip Sabian just uses another few seconds to hype up the bachelor party. That was it. That was all we got to see of Miro this week. I'm not too sure how I feel about him being involved in this wedding thing. Obviously, you know, the elephant in the room is like, this is literally what he came off of in WWE, doing a wedding angle. Now he's back here in AEW doing the same thing. It just seems a little bit silly. Yeah, just, I don't know. But whatever, you know, what's gonna come is gonna come. Hopefully it's worth it. Hopefully it's entertaining and draws viewers. I'm not sure when exactly the bachelor party is, actually. Did they mention that? I don't think they said it was next week. I actually managed to take down notes this time of what's going down next week. I didn't hear anything about the bachelor party taking place on the next show. They did actually, though, talk about the 1 hour show. They kind of went, as they do sometimes, just went through it real quick in the middle of a match. I don't even remember which match it was. I think it might have actually been the women's title match that just happened. You just see in the bottom left they're saying, oh, we have a 1 hour special coming up. They said there is a match on it, I think. I think Lance Archer might be involved, and they said Chris Jericho is going to be on the show. I think it's happening on Tuesday, if I'm not mistaken. I'm going to have to look back into that. Again, they glossed over real quick. Like, what they should be doing is, like, dedicating a whole screen full of, like, what's going to be happening. Because, again, it was just in the corner of a match, just in the corner of the screen. It's like, yo, you got to inform your viewers a little better, like, in my opinion. I keep a close eye on what's going on, right? So I'll know, like, what's going on. But for the casual viewer, it's kind of weird. Next up, we see Lance Archer with Jake Roberts. Lance Archer does his full entrance, you know. He grabs a guy from the crowd, throws him in. This time it was some masked guy, I don't know who it was, just starts beating him up. I think he chokeslammed him. Jake Roberts starts doing like a poetic kind of promo as he does. He said something like, would you rather, I don't know, I don't remember what the exact quote was, but it was to the effect of like, you know, be on the beach, enjoying the sunshine, or whatever, being in a not fun place, like something like that. He was like, would you trade pleasure for pain? After all, they are the same. That quote I got. The one from before that, I don't know what he said. He said that sometimes in wrestling or movies or politics, you get yourself in bed with someone who you think you'd like to go to bed with. I don't know what that means. Maybe he's referring to, like, you know, how Lance Archer's gonna be in a match with Jon Moxley, I guess. He's like, sometimes you need information, money, or a way out. He says that right now Lance needs tag team partners, because one thing that was announced for next week, Jon Moxley will face Lance Archer in a 6-man tag team match. So Jon Moxley and Lance Archer have to find tag team partners. Again, it will be a 6-man. So Jake Roberts, again, he says right now Lance needs tag team partners, and he says, I'm going to call out Taz. But he said something more poetic and stuff. He was like, we need a Tasmanian devil, so Taz, get out here. Something like that. Taz comes out. He says that everyone in Team Taz is happy to do business with Lance Archer and Jake Roberts. He says a trio with Lance Archer and his boys would be a great deal. And he says, speaking of a deal, Lance, when you win that AEW title, you're going to have my boy first in line, Brian Cage, for that championship. And he looked agreeing. He was like, all right, fine, you know, we'll give you the first match. Lance Archer actually took the mic this time and said that Taz's boys are right now the enemies of his enemy. So they're cool. Lance Archer and Team Taz, they're doing good, man. He says that he'll be a killer champion. No matter how much Eddie Kingston complains about the Battle Royal, Lance and Bryan will be the first match when he's champion. Jon Moxley comes out. As he's about to speak, I got a little scared here because Ricky Starks dressed up as a fan attacked Moxley. I was like, oh no, not again. But then I immediately knew, like, oh, that's too much. Like, he fully, like, grabbed him. Obviously, no security was around, so I was like, oh, okay, it's not a fan. But I was like, oh, I hope that's not happening again. But anyway, Ricky Starks dressed as a fan attacks Moxley, and then Brian Cage comes, and they start beating him up. And who comes for the save but Big Will Hobbs, man? And I was super impressed with that guy in the Battle Royal, so really exciting that we'll get to see him on Dynamite in a big-time match. He comes for the save with a chair. He runs Ricky Starks and Brian Cage off. Moxley gets back up. He says that Will Hobbs is his first partner. He really hypes this guy up. He's putting him over like crazy. Willpower, Will Hobbs, right? Moxley still needs a third partner. He didn't spend any time like, drum roll or whatever. He was just like, Darby Allin, come to Jacksonville next week, man. I'm gonna need you, dude. So that's what we're gonna get next week. Great match, man. We're gonna get Jon Moxley, Will Hobbs, Darby Allin versus Lance Archer, Ricky Starks, and Brian Cage. And now for the best part of the show, man. The best main event I've seen in so long in wrestling, dude. Best Friends versus Santana and Ortiz in a parking lot fight. And boy, do I have a lot of spots written down for this match. So first thing we see is Justin Roberts with Best Friends. And there's a whole bunch of planted fans around the premises of where the match is taking place, the parking lot. So Justin Roberts says, here we go with the parking lot fight or whatever. And then Santana and Ortiz come. They have this badass white and black face paint on. Trent immediately drives Ortiz into the hood of a car, throws Ortiz under the hood. So he opens up the hood of the car, throws Ortiz under. He starts slamming the hood onto Ortiz. And when you thought that was bad enough, Chuck Taylor gets on top of the car and does a senton onto the hood of the car with Ortiz in the hood. Trent goes on the car and does the same thing, man. Every single thing that happened, I thought it was the last thing. First I was like, okay, beat him up with the hood of the car. And then out of nowhere, Chuck Taylor does a senton. Oh wow, senton. And then Trent does a senton. I was like, oh, I feel bad for this guy, man. And by the way, the reason why Santana didn't come to save the poor guy, Chuck Taylor had thrown Santana face first onto the mirror of another car, so he was knocked out. He couldn't come for the save, unfortunately. Best Friends are now wasting a little bit of time, putting a sheet of plywood onto the back of a truck. Santana emerges. He's busted open from being thrown at the mirror. He starts beating on Trent with a steel baton and catapults him under the truck. And so, you know how the back of a truck will have that latch and you put down the latch to open it up so you could slide things in? So the latch was down, hanging down, and Ortiz catapults Trent and he hits that latch of the car and it goes right back up. It looked kind of brutal. Ortiz, after that, he had a big sledgehammer, not a WWE Triple H sledgehammer. The base of the sledgehammer was this big, and the actual hammer was huge, and he whips it towards Chuck Taylor. Luckily he dodged, and it went right through the car's windshield, destroyed it completely. What I was thinking by this point is, dude, this is an expensive match, man. I swear they have 5 or 6 perfectly mint condition cars, and they're just destroying them. Not anything they're breaking denting the crap out of these cars. Chuck Taylor brings Ortiz to the top of a car. Ortiz gets the upper hand and suplexes him onto the top of the car, and Santana did a dive onto him. This was a near fall. When Ortiz suplexed Chuck Taylor onto this car, all the windows they all exploded as Chuck Taylor landed on it. That was kind of a cool effect. Ortiz is beating on Chuck Taylor with a garbage can. Trent ends up fighting him off. Ortiz sets up a door onto a car, and Trent spears Ortiz right through the door, like a regular door. I don't know where they got it from, but He just speared him through a door onto the front of a car. Ortiz is bleeding from his elbow. There's a lot of blood in this match. Ortiz reverses Trent spinning DDT, smacks him out with like some sort of panel. I don't even know what it was. I think the announcers mentioned it, but that went past me. He just smacked him right in the face with like, I don't know, some metal panel of some sort kind of thing. Chuck Taylor does a suplex through a steel barricade leaning on the car to Ortiz. That was pretty brutal. It was like a real big, tough steel barricade, and Ortiz landed right through it from Chuck Taylor's suplex. And then we cut over to Santana. He has this long 2x4 and just whacks Trent with it. It breaks on his back. Ortiz, meanwhile, is dead on top of a car. Trent tried picking him up to land a spot, but Ortiz landed a low blow and powerbombed Trent on top of the car. And then Santana and Ortiz took Trent back up, and they powerbombed him through the windshield of the car. And that's when Trent's back was bleeding everywhere. So, you know, these were like pretty damn real cars, dude. Like, they had the real windshield and everything, because they're getting cut up from everything this match. Chuck takes a 2x4 and does the same thing that Santana did to Trent, where he just breaks it. He did it twice. He hit Ortiz with the 2x4 once, it broke. He hit him again with it, it broke. And around this time, it was JR. He was like, "This is probably the best street fight I'd ever called in my career." And it's hard to disagree. It's hard to think right off the top of my head of like what could possibly be better. Trent is on the ground at this point. His back is bleeding like crazy. Like the concrete has blood all over it. Ortiz is still beating him on the back with a 2x4. Just crazy, man. These guys are killing each other. Santana leans Chuck onto the back of the car and starts beating the crap out of him. Santana takes a lead pipe. He's teasing to go beat the crap out of Chuck Taylor with the lead pipe. But who pops out of the trunk? You know who it is. Orange Cassidy. And he goes after Santana with an orange punch. He happened to have a steel chain wrapped around his fist with the steel punch, with the orange punch there. Orange Cassidy brings Santana over to Chuck Taylor. He pile drives Santana onto the hood, and then they shoot over to Trent, and he pile drives Ortiz through the plywood on the back of the truck for the win. And man, like, oh, this was such a great match. And last thing we see is Sue, Mama Trent, picks up Best Friends and Orange Cassidy in her new minivan. And the very last shot that we see is Sue sticks her hand out of the window and then just flips him off. Just flips off Santana and Ortiz. I thought it was just awesome, man. It was such a great ending to Dynamite. The rest of the episode is pretty good. I wouldn't say it had any lows particularly. Maybe just some not particularly exciting parts. But I thought it was just a great episode up and down. I thought the women's match was great. I'm really looking forward to see what happens next with them. Frankie Kazarian versus Adam Page was a great match. Just great wrestling up and down this card. There wasn't so much talking as there was last week. And yeah, that's pretty much it for this show, guys. I'm really excited for what's coming up in the coming weeks. We'll talk a bit about what will be coming up. So Moxley versus Archer is confirmed for the Wednesday, October 14th episode. That is the 1-year anniversary episode for Dynamite, and so the world title will be on the line. Next week, we have a big match. Orange Cassidy versus Mr. Brody Lee for the TNT title. For whatever reason, okay, that's happening. That's going to be great. As I mentioned earlier, Thunder Rosa will be returning again. She'll be tag teaming with Shida against Diamante and Ivelisse. Jericho will appear with a live mic. We'll see him cut a promo. And yeah, and again, I'm pretty sure it's Tuesday that they're having that 1-hour special. And I know it will feature Chris Jericho. I'm pretty sure there's going to be a match on there. So we got a lot of exciting stuff coming up. And we'll always be back here every Wednesday live after Dynamite. So tune in as always. And thank you very much again for tuning in to Pierce the Canvas. I'm Pierce, once again signing out tonight. Take care, guys.